Our topic is about political caricature of the American era. Let's start about the author of Political Caricature of the American Era, which is Dr. Alfred W. McCoy. So, I will talk about his background as well as the background of the document. Si Dr. Alfred W. McCoy ay isang professor sa Southeast Asian History at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, kung saan nag-serve din siya bilang director of the Center for SE Asian Studies. He spent the past quarter century, or should I say a period of 25 years, writing about the politics and history of the opium trade. Moreover, Alfred McCoy has spent the past 30 years writing about Southeast Asian history and politics. Kasama sa mga na-publish ni McCoy ay ang Philippine Cartoons in 1985, Anarchy of Families in 1994, Closer Than Brothers, Manhood at Philippine Military Academy in 2000, and The Lives at the Margin in 2001. So here are some of the examples of his work. This is the Philippine Cartoons, Political Caricature of the American Era in 1900s to 1941 by Alfred McCoy and Alfredo Rosas. Next is An Anarchy of Families, State and Family in the Philippines, 1994, edited by Alfred W. McCoy. This is The Closer Than Brothers, Manhood at the Philippine Military Academy by Alfred W. McCoy. Last example is Lives at the Margin by Alfred W. McCoy. Another background of the author: after earning PhD in Southeast Asian History at Yale, nag-focus si McCoy sa pagsusulat sa dalawang topic, which is Philippine Political History and Global Opium Trafficking. And yung Pilipinas yung nag-remain na major focus ng research ni Alfred McCoy. Kasama sa mga teaching interest niya, ang Modern Philippine Social Policy, History, U.S. Foreign Policy, Colonial Empires in Southeast Asia, Global Illicit Drug Trafficking, and CIA-covered operation. Aside from that, yung title ng unang book ni Alfred McCoy ay may title na The Politics of Heroin in Southeast Asia in New York 1972, kung saan muntik nang pigilan ng CIA yung book publication nito, pero after ng 3 English edition and translation nito into 9 languages, ang study nito ay regarded na as classic work on the global drug traffic. So let's proceed to the background of the document. Noong 1900s to 1941, umani ng maraming ekspresyon ang Philippine political cartoons during American era, and yung mga Filipino artists ay naitalaga bilang national attitudes regarding dun sa pagdating ng Americans dito sa Philippines. Ganun din sa mga pagbabago sa customs, norms, and behavior sa Pilipinas. Yung research ni Dr. Alfred McCoy in Philippine and American archives ay nagbigay ng comprehensive background or complete and accurate information sa mga nagbabasa. Hindi lang sa cartoons, kundi nung time na magulo pa nung sinakop tayo ng Americans. So, pinapakita lang sa mga gawa niya, especially through cartoons like yung 377 cartoons which is related sa politics na ginawa niya, kung saan pinaportrait dito yung mga karanasan at paghihirap ng mga Filipino during the American era.
We have 5 achievements of Philippine cartoons in 1985. First, Philippine Catholic Mass Media Award. Second, Best Book of the Year for 1985. Third, Philippine National Book Award for History in 1986. Fourth, Gintong Aklat Award in Manila. And last, Special Citation for History in 1987. Definition of term: caricature. It is a picture description or imitation of a person in which certain striking characteristics are exaggerated in order to create a comic or grotesque effect. A parcero or sharecropping. Type or farming in which families rent small plots of land from a landowner and return for a portion of their crop to be given to the landowner at the end of the year. Homesteaders. It is someone who settles lawfully on government land with the intent to acquire title to it, while the homestead, a home in adjoining land occupied by a family. And last, imperialism. It is the policy or extending the rule or authority of an empire or nation over foreign countries, or acquiring and holding colonies and dependencies, advocacy of imperial or sovereign interests over the interests of the independent state. The following are the example of political caricature. While the priest lives alone in a big building, like many national of his day, Vicente Soto, the publisher of The Independent, never missed a chance to attack the Catholic Church. Is the police force brides? Despite the first of Manila's period scandals, the cartoonist Fernando Amorsolo gives the illustration a usual racist age. New Bird of Prey. The cartoon's caption, New Bird of Prey, is an allusion to the most famous label case in the history of Philippine journalism, where the mosquito is king. Built on a swamp and ringed with streams and ponds, Manila is a natural breeding ground for malarial mosquitoes. The Board of Health distributed millions of doses of quinine and eliminated mosquito breeding ground by filling up the standing water holes or by spraying them petroleum.
Liberty, Equality, Fraternity. The Philippine Assembly passed a law authorizing all legislators, active or retired, to bear firearms. The Manila press was outraged, but the legislators ignored the opposition and promulgated the law over the scream of protest. Liberty, Equality, Fraternity. So it is the legacy of the Age of Enlightenment, the motto Liberty, Equality, and Fraternity. It first appeared during the French Revolution. Although it was often called into question, it finally established itself under the Third Republic. It was written into the 1958 Constitution and it is nowadays part of the French national heritage. So, it is the first article of the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights, which is all human beings are born free in equal in dignity and rights. So, which means every individual is free to enjoy the basic rights and to live a life of dignity. Why the Aparcero rebels? It shows the form of landlord usury to strip tenant farmers from their rightful share of harvest. Why the Aparcero rebels? So Aparcero, also known as a share tenants, are farmers who rent plots of land from a landowner in exchange of a portion of their harvested crops, which is called sharecropping. Why the Aparcero rebels illustrates the unjust and inescapable unfortunate situation of the Aparceros due to the landowner, which lead them to fight for their lives. In simple terms, Alfred McCoy's Aparcero depicts the injustice and unfair treatments experienced by the tenant farmers. A new wrinkle in the art of thieving. This shows city capitalized using the torrents title process, which required relinquishment of customer claims to issue titles and to grab lands in Nueva Ecija and other Central Luzon provinces. A new wrinkle in the art of thieving. The cartoons reveal the nature of the scourge of agriculture. It shows town capitalism using the torrents title method to seize the land of Nueva Ecija and other Central Luzon provinces, which included the relinquishment of traditional claims to issue valid titles. So the Filipino farmers being slave and forced to cultivate land. In this situation, even the Filipino owned the land, there is still a slave of the colonizer. The Filipino known for a strong and hardworking people, but because of the colonizer, their life and way of living are occupied by the colonizer. So what's going to be done about it? A sudden and unexpected credit crisis threatens the Negro sugar crop, and planters respond by lobbying Governor General Francis B. Harrison for relief, fueled by free access to the American sugar market and liberal credit from the newly established Philippine National Bank. So, because of the help of Governor General Francis B. Harrison, the Negro sugar industry grew rapidly during World War I. Brothers Under the Skin urges Filipino to end social conflict and deal with each other fairly. Brothers Under the Skin. Despite the fact that it has pockmarked American life for decades and that it immediately affects a sizable group of our population, the status of the non-Negro colored minorities in this country has escaped the attention of even our liberal historians. Mark Williams, which is the brother the skin has, therefore the virtue of bringing together popular studies of the colored groups, which is the Indian, Puerto Rican, Mexican, Negro, and Orientals. When the Filipinos began winning civil service appointments after 1913, they found themselves facing serious discrimination in both wages and positions. Francis B. Harrison, the liberal governor-general, reapproved American hiring policies of the tough era 1912 and began the Filipinization of the civil service.
Hello, good afternoon. I am J.L. Saldo and I am the next reporter. So now, I am going to present the part of my report which is the equal work and unequal salary and the election before and after and the result of key education, which belongs to the political caricature in the American era. Equal work, unequal salary. Why? According to Francis B. Harrison, the liberal governor-general, when Filipino began winning a civil service after 1913, they began Filipinization in the civil service. And until now, civil service is one of the required or needed to be employed in the government services. At civil service, it is one of the reason kung bakit equal work and equal salary happens. And also, the profession you have. For example, the military and the doctor, they equal work in terms of sacrificing. Doctor for saving the life of people and military doing well for maintaining peaceful of the country. But in terms of salary, literary unequal. At yung isa pang reason is the country, teachers, profession, at dito sa Philippines at ibang bansa, mostly in Singapore, ay malaking difference. Same silang work as teaching, sharing knowledge, guiding children to the right path. But in salary, di hamak na malaki, mas malaki sa Singapore dahil their philosophy that teachers is the reason to have other profession and high value the teachers. At dito sa isang picture about sa namumunong Amerikano and namumunong Pilipino, makikita natin ang gap about their salary and sa hirap ng trabaho. Lagi natin tinatanong sa isip natin, why? Why? Bakit ba tayo naghihirap? Buong buhay natin binubuhos naman natin sa trabaho. Bakit ba hindi umaasenso yung Pilipinas o mga Pilipino? Unang reason is the government. Mga namumunong makasarili. Pilipinong mahihirap ay lalo pang pinapahirapan. Mayayamang lalo pang nagpapayaman. Isang malaking halimbawa dito is yung farmers. Farmer dito sa Pilipinas kumpara sa farmer sa ibang bansa. Sa ibang bansa, when we say farmers, ay isa sa mayayamang tao dahil they manage their own business until to the market. Samantala, dito sa Pilipinas, Filipino farmers is just a servant dahil after ng harvest nila, government will decide the price of their product at the low price. Kaya kung saan nagkakaiba yung kanilang salary. At next is the election before and after. Sinasabi na ang eleksyon ay isa sa malaking kaganapan kung saan hihirang ang mga kandidatura sa kanilang posisyon. But in a decade ago, after the Philippine-American War, ang United States ay nag-establish na the First Philippine Republic in 1907 ay tinatawag na bicameral. Philippine legislature during American colonial period hanggang sa na-recognize ng Jones Law ang Philippine legislature to the Senate at House of Representatives hanggang tinuloy-tuloy na ito ng iba pang sumakop at namumuno sa Pilipinas until independence was granted on July 4, 1946. From 1947 to 1971, nagkaroon ng biennial election kung saan every 2 years sa 8 out of 24 senators were elected. The presidency, the vice presidency, at House of Representatives were at stake, while for every 4 years starting 1947. In 1972, President Marcos ay nag-declared ng martial law kung saan the first parliamentary election to the unicameral batasang pambansa ay ginanap hanggang nagkaroon ng era presidential election kung saan si Marcos ay nanalo at nagkaroon ng allegation of massive fraud at people power revolution drove in Marcos from power. In 1987, new plebiscite was approved, Corazon Aquino as president, at dahil dito ay nagkaroon ng mga amendments of constitution into 24 senator. President and the vice president are in 6 years in terms. At hanggang sa ngayon, we are in the democratic country and independently voting sa mga political na handang tumulong at mag-sacrifice para sa ikaunlad ng ating bansa. At next is the results of education. Base sa picture na narito, kung ating susuriin parang sinasabi dito na para lang sa mga mayayaman ang edukasyon. Kung saan parang sinasabi dito na kung wala kang pera, ay wala kang edukasyon. Kaya tanging mga mayayaman lamang na nakakapag-aral sa panahon nito.
One of the famous political caricature is this one. This one is the art, one of the art drawn by Fernando Amosolo. At kilala naman natin kung sino si Fernando Amosolo, right? Isa siyang kilalang Filipino artist. So if you analyze the cartoon, it shows a man who represents the United States na inaakay isang batang si Juan. Nakita na sa picture, which represents Filipino people. It shows that during that time, Philippines are very loyal to American. Next is the relevance and the contribution ng Philippine cartoon. So for Filipinos, it shows nationalism. Ito yung pagiging makabansa, patriotism, pagiging tapat o loyal sa bansa. Eye-opener. Dahil sa Philippine caricature, namulat ang ibang mga Pilipino or nalalaman ng ibang mga Pilipino tungkol sa issue na nangyayari sa bansa. Discover our roots. Dahil dito, nalalaman din ng ibang mga Pilipino kung anong nangyari yung mga panahong iyon. Masasabing ang political caricature is isang instrumento upang malaman ng kasaysayan. Next ay Sa Philippines, sabi dito, sa Pilipinas daw, ang political caricature ay halos kasabay ng publication ng ah, kalayaan at la solidaridad. Itong dalawa ay mga kilalang pahayagan nung panahon ng Kastila. And it was 1896 nang na-publish ang aklat ni Alfred McCoy at Alfred Roses na political tungkol sa political caricature during American era. So this book reflected two themes ito dyan na ito ay uh, anti-American sentiments and condemnation of the ruling class. Next. And then dahil sa aklat din na ito, namulat ang ibang mga Pilipino. Saka mas padali na rin nila malaman ng isyu na kahit hindi sila marunong bumasa, ay sa pamamagitan ng cartoons ay nalaman ang isyu na nangyayari sa Pilipinas. Next, so dito nalalaman din ng mga future generation. Sabi nga kanina na isa rin tong primary sources ng history. Nalalaman nila kung anong nakaraan ng Philippine society dahil dito. Dahil din dito, mas visualize natin ang nangyayari sa politika, sa Philippine politics at kumbaga mas naihahayag natin ang ating opinion dahil sa Philippine dahil sa caricature. Ano po?